Good afternoon, everyone. This is the April 27th meeting of the Revitalization Trust Fund. According to the state, that we are allowed to continue having remote meetings during ensuring public access is part of what we want to do. But public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. One more important thing is that remember that this call is being recorded, and so make sure that anything in your background or that you show that you are open to being able to have that as the permanent record of the meeting. And so on that note, let's get the meeting. So number one is everyone was mailed a copy of the March meeting notes. So I would, unless there are any questions, I'd like to be able to ask for a vote to accept the March 2023 meeting notes. So
move to accept.
You second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That'd be a yes, I believe I hear that.
Aye.
So,
Aye.
that's
I
okay. The minutes are officially saved. So the next piece is update from the Needham to the World, progress on the, well, basically just progress on that, the next mural. Jessica, do you want to speak to any of this? And you, I was going to say, I know that I sent back a whole file of suggestions that we would like high-res images of to them after they sent us a bunch of the images that they had. But the images that they had were all seemed to be very were quite limited and focused mostly on them growing up. But there really was not much about their company or the products they sell or any of the, I mean, all the things that are part of the Life is Good experience, as well as the charitable foundation. So I had written back to them to ask them, we're trying to tell the full story. so can you get us images that would reflect, the variety of good things that they do. And so and gave them examples, but they were all basically low-res images. So we asked them if they could, if they had access to any of the high res of those things. So that's what I know. And Jessica, tell us what you have for update, if anything.
Well, I haven't heard anything further on that. Just for a little background, just as a reminder, John and Bert Jacobs grew up in Needham and they started the Life is Good company. I'm sure everyone has seen the t-shirts and the hats and all of those accessories. They did grow up in Needham. They started the company out of a van, quite literally driving around trying to sell t-shirts. And then the stick figure that they called Jake was what really hit. And that's when things really started to grow. And they have established this charity that looks like it does really great work for children who have been through various types of trauma. And they're very likable. They're very they're a very good representation of Needham, I think. So I did write up a profile of them, and Paul had some photos. I had some photos. We've been working with 2 employees of Life is Good who have been really helpful. They sent back a summary that had sort of been rewritten by one of the brothers, and it was I really liked it. It was much more, it showed their personality a lot more. It was kind of playful and fun and interesting. And as Paul says, they do have some photos that are high resolution. Paul had sent some back to them to find out if there were more that they could find that were high resolution, that are more recent and show more about the company. But I think it's going really well. I think it'll be a great mural. It's kind of funny. The only thing I asked about was, they have all these cartoon characters on these shirts and hats and everything that they do. They do have a dog. There's a cartoon dog that appears on some of the shirts and on some of the accessories. And they named him Rocket after the Needham High School mascot. And so they put that in there as kind of one of the captions and a picture of this cartoon dog. And it's really cute. And this sounds really silly for me to say, but as I'm sure you all know, there's already a dog named Rocket, Officer Rocket, who like all the kids in Needham have met. He's been in every school in Needham. He's an adorable dog. Everybody loves him. Yeah, of course, more than one dog can be named Rocket. It just did occur to me that, like, if a family with kids are looking at that mural, the kids are going to be like, wait a minute, that's not Rocket. I've met
That's
Rocket.
not Rocket.
Like that. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's going to bother anybody. I don't know if it's a big deal. I don't even know who to like ask whether it would bother anybody. I don't think it would. I don't think it's like a problem. I just think it might be almost a little bit confusing for the younger ones who have spent, time with Officer Rocket in school. So anyway, I mentioned that. I don't know if anyone has any feedback about that. I'm not really sure what, if anything, to do about it. They may not even end up using that photo, but anyway, that's where we are. So we're just, I guess we're just finalizing what the content will be, but it looks like it's going to be great. I think it's going to be really fun and playful, and I think people will like it.
Great. No, this is great. I was going to say the one thing I was going to just do, and maybe if you could just maybe send them off an email tomorrow to just say, it's been a week. Have you been able to find any of the images? I just want to make sure that we keep ahead of this, so we don't start running into a crunch. I know that May can be pretty busy.
When's the turnover?
June.
June. Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, this one goes March, April, May. Let's see. Yeah, March, April, May. I'm sorry, May. See, we're back into the hay fever thing here. Yes, March, April, May, June is how long Tiger will be up. July is when it
Okay.
turns. So it's July, August, September, October, and then the next turnover is November, December, January, February. So yeah, so I just staying as far ahead of this as we can, particularly because that the one that we have, the slot that we have already have a sponsorship for, which is the November, December, January, February. We haven't even nailed down a person yet. So that's, and so we want to make sure that we've got plenty of time to be able to not only determine who that next candidate will be, for sure, and then go through the work of being able to pull together the profile and the story.
So that's the one that Michael Baylett is sponsoring, right? Or the
That's
Baylett
correct.
family.
Yes.
Do you want to approach them about choosing a person, or do you want me to? I just happen to know them because my kids have been in theater productions with them. So, but I can go either way with it.
Well, number one, I wouldn't have no problem with being able to do that. I spoke to him about, did he have any preferences about anything?
Mhm.
And he said, I really just want to leave it to the committee to be able to decide whoever it is. I'd be happy with, whoever you choose.
Okay.
And I was trying to see, whether he wanted something that was, if there was something related to healthcare, or there was something related to, any of those types of things, or if it happened to be, the governor or former governor, or any of those kinds of things. And he said, really just whatever your committee thinks is the next appropriate thing. Because I had told him about the fact that, Jessica was always looking for this balance of being able to have a different specialty in the background and to do things that were, current and tied to historic, a mix of these things. So we keep it always interesting. And he was very much in favor of that too. So,
Okay,
yeah,
great.
I mean, and obviously because him, that maybe we nail down a couple of choices, and maybe from there you can just talk to him about it and say, hey.
Sure.
So that would be great. So as you're working to put those together, just let me know where you're at with it, and then we'll move forward to be able to get that start to.
Do we have any ideas for the pipeline as far as candidates?
Well, we have
Well,
60.
go ahead.
I was just going to say we have 60 names to choose from, but
Okay,
Jessica is basically at the helm of keeping this mix and balance and moving it forward. So yeah, go ahead, Jessica.
Yeah, we do have a long list that Paul put together, lots of notable people. We've obviously already covered space and music and business. So, I was thinking maybe Governor Baker would be a good choice in the world of politics and government. Maybe Frank Malzone, as the former, he's deceased now, but he was a pretty well-known and celebrated Red Sox player. He could be a good one. And then we get into, sports. But I can certainly circulate the list around if everyone would like to look at it. And if you have any thoughts and want to tell me, it's a pretty interesting list.
it's just funny because Allie Raisman comes to mind just because she kind of runs in our circle of friends with kids, and obviously she's probably a good candidate at some point.
Yep.
Just asking, no preference.
Yeah, no, that's a good one too. Yeah.
Although the Frank Malzone, I remember you had talked about being excited about that because he was a neighbor of yours, right?
Yeah, he lived on our street, actually. His house was right across the street from ours. Very, very nice man.
Yeah, and the sports there are going to be a lot of people who will know him.
Mm-hmm.
But it is somebody who is, no longer around, and the three that we've featured so far are, thank goodness, all alive.
Yeah, true. That's true.
So that's something to put into the mix when you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
So, any other thoughts about the from Needham to the World? All righty. Let's see. We just covered the other one. Update on the Dave DeChico bench arrival. As best as I can gather, that they're still planning on having the bench arrive sometime during May. So hopefully in the next week or so, I'll have another update in terms of when that bench should arrive. But that's the one that's going to Greens Field, and will replace one of the wooden and concrete slatted benches at the front end of Greens Field. And I will also follow up on the other person who had inquired about the potential of doing another bench there or somewhere else that might potentially have us be able to replace 2 of the benches this year in that area, which would make a total of 3. And I think, as I recall, there are 5. So that would be a great transformation for much of that space. And all the benches are all, of course, matching, same style, inlaid plaque, and the black wrought iron, or I should say the powder coated steel design. One other one that I got an inquiry just the other day, and have just determined as of yesterday who actually oversees the area. And it turns out that it's the select board, which is great. Is that we have someone who would like to be able to do a bench on the Amity path, which is the one that encircles the pond behind the PSAB at 500 Dedham Ave, that beautiful walking trail that goes around there. So we're just in basically the beginning of putting together a proposal. But now that I knew who actually oversees it and has authority over approval, now I'll go back to the person who inquired and let them know that that we understand how it can work. So now we need to be able to put together an appropriate bench design and so on that matches it, and then come up with a specific location as to where the bench would be located along that path. So, and that's something that I'll just, take care of as I talk with them, and probably go out and just take a walk with them around the path, because this is basically a dedication to her father, who's now about 100, and has loved to walk that path, and within the last year or so has not been able to physically. So she thought that this would be just a wonderful thing to be able to have something dedicated to him, and to add something to a place that he really loved to be and loved to take walks in.
How much does one of those benches typically cost? Like the Greensfield or one of these, for instance?
Yeah, the like the ones at Greensfield are $25.50.
Okay.
Right now.
Installed.
Yes. Well, the Park and Forestry actually installs it for us.
Okay.
So, and in this particular case, also that there is there's already a pad underneath the existing.
Ready to receive it, right?
Yeah. So, and I've scoped it out in terms of its size, and it's appropriate for being able to put the width of bench in that would go in. These are 6-foot wide benches. So they would install it, and it would be bolted to the ground and that kind of thing. And they're aware that it's coming in at some point, and I just keep in communication with them so that if I get a notice that they're actually shipping, that they have a heads up. So when it shows up, and these benches also come completely assembled. So, so the wooden slat, the Ipe benches come as basically the wood slats and then the frame, and you have to bolt them together.
Right.
Yeah. So, and they have done that for many of those benches. But of course, they like it even more when it doesn't require any of that. So,
4 bolts and they're done.
yeah, that's right. That's right. So that's what it is. If the cost of the bench depends on the style. So, like the Ipe benches, at one point, I haven't checked them recently, but at one point during the supply shortages and so on, that the Ipe bench had gone from about $2,200 to $4,500.
Jeez.
Yeah, and which means like that's a lot to ask of a donor to be able to do that. But
well, that's also material that you need to treat every year or every other year.
No, that's the thing. No, it basically, I've spoken to the company about it. Yes, and I said, what should we do for maintenance of this? And they said nothing. Said if you put things on it, you can actually damage the well, I can say is that we have benches that are over 20 years old that are out there that are still solid as a rock.
Have you priced out like a Trex material versus the natural wood?
Well, right at the moment, we don't have any requests for using a natural wood or any of that, wood-like looking like product.
Sure.
The purpose of the Ipe was the fact that originally they were using redwood, and they only had a couple of 2 or 3 benches that were of this similar style.
So they wanted to match. That's fair. Okay.
And so yeah, but the other thing too was that the redwood ones, they have a lifespan of about 10 years, and then they start to really fall apart. The bolts all loosen up, the benches get wobbly, and the wood rots, and it just disintegrates. So when we started the program for the for the replacement benches, we started with Ipe. So that's why we have benches that are now over 20 years old.
Sure.
And all of them have remained rock solid. I always want to be able to go out there and just clean them up, and because sometimes just from environmental things that they get dirtier or whatever, I was stunned when they said basically don't mess with it. So I'm still not convinced that that's the right thing. Because there are some of them that don't look, if they don't look pretty, then people might feel uncomfortable sitting on them. And so, if we were using, a material that would not hurt the wood, but would clean it, it seems totally sensible to me that it should be cleaned up. And that's a pretty straightforward project. So we could probably do, a dozen benches in a few hours. And then they'd be good for another, 5 or 10 years. So, it's that kind of thing. So, yeah, as opposed to other woods that have to be treated every year, this is definitely one that doesn't. But in terms of its appearance, we want it to look nice.
Yep.
and be inviting. So, yeah, so that's a scoop of that. There is an example of the I don't know whether it's Trex or some similar type of composite material on a bench that I believe is in the at the intersection of where Central Ave, and if you're heading towards, if you go up Highland Avenue and you turn right onto Central,
Mhm.
and there's a little park on the right hand side that has like a stone with some plantings and so on. If I recall, there's a bench there that's actually made out of that material. Some of the people that I had talked to about those kind of things, they were as potential donors. They didn't like the fact that it looks like it's plastic.
Right. That's
And
fair.
yeah, so that was the thing. But there are some places where that can be, that can be appropriate. And as I said, the ones that are at Greens Field, that the bench style that was selected was the powder coated steel, and you don't have any of those other degradation issues for a very long time with the powder coated steel. So depending on what any of the materials are for future benches, there's always granite.
It's always great. Less comfortable, but always a solution.
So let's see. Obviously, everyone has seen that the town common is open, which
Looks
is
great.
which is fantastic. And I think that as people get a chance to, I've seen lots of people in the center sitting in the giant orange chairs and having fun in the circle there, as well as going around to the different picnic tables and so on. In fact, I actually was in the center about an hour or so after the fences had come down, and there was a teenager who had gotten some food. They were sitting at the table with their books and all the stuff, and I just walked over to them. And I said, "So, how do you like the new picnic benches?" And she said, "Yeah, it's pretty nice." I said, "Well, you are the first person to actually eat something and sit at the picnic bench since it's been opened up." And she was like, "Oh, that's cool." So she wasn't super impressed that it was breaking ground here, but but it was a fun thing. And I talked to another couple that was walking through the common at the time, and they were very positive about the whole thing. They missed the trees, and they know that the trees that are there are going to take a few years to be able to, to start to produce any shade. But they thought it was very pretty, and that they liked the new, the new look, and hoped that it, would be versatile for doing a variety of different things, including they were hoping to bring back street fair. So I said, well, I don't know the details of that yet, and we won't be doing anything this year anyway, because we've got to let the grass and everything get established. But tune in next year and we'll find out how that all goes. So that's my update on the common. Have any of you got a chance to go out and just take a walk around it?
I took my kiddos through last weekend or the weekend before when it was nice. And we just did a quick through because we got bagels at the bagel place across the street. And so I just showed them. I said, "Hey, look." And I showed them, of course, the bronze statues and everything. So we were in and out, but it's really nice. It's refreshing. It's clean. It's new. It looks great.
There,
It's a
there's
nice,
still there's still some work to be done, but the town didn't want to keep it closed until every last finishing touch was
you can
put on.
tell, but it's great. It's nice, especially now that the weather's starting to get nice. It's good to have it open and have people out there. So I agree.
Yeah, yesterday was a half day in Needham for public schools, and there were a lot of kids out there. It's really nice to see. It's really all ages out there, which is exactly what we wanted.
Mhm.
I think there are two spots where they look like there are supposed to be benches that haven't been installed yet.
Underneath the pergolas, the shade
No.
structures.
No, on the pathway, one of them that leads up towards the, it's basically on the if you're standing in the center circle facing towards Town Hall,
Exactly. Yep.
if you face right and left, there are two nooks with foundations there, but there's no benches on them.
I will double check. I'm wondering if that's where the big belly trash compactors are gonna go.
Oh, maybe.
Like trash and recycling bins on each side. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's what that's for.
But I will double check.
And the only thing that I noticed was that for whatever reason, when they moved the Circle of Peace, that they spun the plaque around sideways, so that when you go through the opening to this into the center, the plaque is not facing towards you anymore.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
It's facing, the only way you could see the plaque is if you stood on the sidewalk and then walked up and looked over the kids to be able to see it. For whatever reason, they thought it was a pathway item instead of something that you discovered as you went into which is the way we originally designed it. And they spun around sideways. So I don't know whether it could be even be corrected, because I think they set it all into concrete, and then they put they have the surface already installed. And, because I never was in there prior to them doing that work, I never noticed it until I walked in and said, how come the plaque is facing the wrong way? They turned it around.
You may be the only one that calls that out.
Well, I think it's just, you walk into the hands and the plaque is, where you would expect to be able to read.
Look down and see it. That's fair.
Yeah. And it's facing, 180 degrees the wrong way. And the only way you can see it is if you go outside the circle, really look in and look down. Otherwise, you have to sort of scrunch up against the children and then read the thing sideways. So it's, as I said, I haven't asked Ed or anybody about it, but I don't know whether there's any way to be able to put it back to where it was, but it's certainly not worth damaging the turf and the installation to be able to do that. But that was the only thing that I noticed that was kind of interesting. So just so everyone knows, Marcus, can you just, I don't know whether the committee was really aware that the application that we made for the art gallery for a grant, can you give them just the update on that? You had told me about it.
Did he drop off?
Oh, I guess he did.
I think he dropped off.
Oh. Well, then here's the update. We didn't get it. So, whatever the case is, it's been an interesting thing. Grants to do the type of work we do are very oftentimes are just uniquely out of sync with what we do. They are often very specifically worded to be able to accomplish a certain, oftentimes political goal. And so not necessarily in the governmental politics, but in the world of business and so on, to be able to accomplish a goal for the particular company. And that's not where we're at. We're not going to put in an installation representing, some element that, is not part of what it is that we're doing.
Mhm.
There are places where it's totally appropriate, and that they want to be able to have it in a, common area that represents this particular, a statement about that. But, we have not, we have intentionally not, connected with being able to do those types of things. We try to keep everything we do as very neutral, and town experience focused, and not trying to make political statements about specific causes and so on.
Mhm.
So that has been some of the experiences that we've had in terms of applying for these different grants. So it continues to focus on being able to network and use the resources that we have through our own friends and communities to be able to to be able to raise the funds for the projects, which we have done very successfully for the last 23 years. So tell your friends and neighbors and network with the people that you know and the people that they know to be able to rally people to the different projects that we have and to sponsor them. So, and I'll continue to work on the art gallery sponsorship and do all the things that I can do to be able to get that funded, because my personal mission is to be able to get the art gallery funded and started before the end of this year. So,
Well, I'm happy to work with you on that. I've kind of been out of pocket a little bit recently, but I'm happy to sort of take any or some of that off of your plate or work in parallel with you if there's some portions you think you can chip off and I can help with.
Sure.
We're still working on some of the pricing for some of the subcontractors, but happy to also spend some other time additionally with you on that if there's something you think is valuable for me to help with.
Yeah. Let's just connect up. I'll make a note here to be able to give you a call.
Okay, cool.
And we'll join forces, and anyone else who wants to be able to to connect in this way, we can reach out through the networks that we have, and being able to get people excited, and we can also one of the options we have is to be able to bring people together, just for a it could be literally at somebody's house.
Mhm.
To invite friends in and say, hey, these are the projects that are waiting for funding, and if you get excited about any of them, would you help us contribute to it, and would you ask your friends and neighbors to be able to do the same thing.
Yep.
So right now we have approximately $150,000 worth of projects that are waiting for funding.
Yep.
So that's sort of the number. If we can shoot for that, then we could do 4 projects, all from that funding.
Okay.
So let's see. We already talked about the mural unveiling. Charles River Street cleanup, that there's a that I was originally in touch with Karis Lustig at the DPW, and she connected me with Park and Recreation, and then Hannah from Park and Recreation contacted me as the new, I guess she's the new assistant there, and she asked for details on what the Charles River cleanup was all about, and so I sent her back a document about a week ago. I haven't heard anything from her yet, but I was going to follow up with an email tomorrow just to say, hey, just want to make sure you got all the stuff, you got the email that I sent explaining, and just to see if you had any additional questions, and to see if we can get this thing, accomplished. Because basically, Amy, when do you know when, or you guys would know, When does school let out? Do you know, Jessica? Or
I think right now the date is June 15th. I don't have my calendar in front of me, but that date sticks out in my head.
okay, and so their exams are all going to be during May, then, right?
I don't know when exams start at the high school.
They're usually right before the last day of school. So I would
Yeah,
imagine that last week.
So sometime in the first week of June or something.
probably. That sounds about right.
All right, so we've basically got the window of May to be able to get this project done, or we lose a lot of the potential people who would be volunteering to be able to help do the cleanup.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm, trying to be able to keep this thing rolling. And it's because we need to do it, and we need to do it in the spring. And the key factors are having a date that we can have the DPW and a driver be there for both safety and for hauling the trash. And the second is the timing of once we have that date nailed down, having that date be within the window that we have to be able to get the volunteers to be still around and not gone for the summer. So, so it's still a spring cleanup. So, and the third piece of it is to, once we've got this in place, that is to be able to make this an annual program. I mean, we can take the initiative to be able to just, call up people and say, hey, okay, will you give us the date that we can do this on? And we'll get the things doing. But doing it once allows us to be able to have the structure accomplished. And then after that, it's a matter of being able to just repeat it. So that's that. Now, what I received today, because Brad was working on this, Brad wrote me back today and said that he's not going to renew as far as his membership on the committee. And he's had, very unfortunately, he had two of his elder family members both pass away within the last week. So that's been difficult for him. And between that and his work schedule, it looks like, he's not going to be able to, he thought he might be able to, but with the variety of things that are all happening between work and personal life, that he's not going to be able to continue on the committee. And as we know, he's had trouble making meetings because of the fact that he was, his company went through a merger and he was basically on call all the time. So the meetings conflicted with us being able to actually get to our meetings. So unfortunately, he will not be continuing. And so in his, but he was the one who was going to be continuing working to be able to bring this to completion. So, for the short term, I'll continue, following up on it. And as we get new candidates onto the committee, then we can see if they're interested in being able to take on this project and continue monitoring it and setting it up for the future times.
So, as you're talking about this, I'm a coach of the Needham boys youth lacrosse. I might, but I mean, my son is in first grade. I coach first and second graders, maybe a little bit young to be cleaning up on the side of the road. But I do have friends who are in the high school program, so I might be able to reach out to them and make some connections, and maybe we can get the Needham boys lacrosse to donate some time, because that's something that's kind of right up their alley. At least it was when I was young and playing sports. Maybe that could be a group that we could use this year to at least kick it off. So I could explore that road if that's something that you think would work.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, basically, once we get a date nailed from, to be able to do it, that, it's basically every resource that we can connect with for, as said pretty much high school students, because they're going to be walking along the side of the road, and we don't,
Right.
we need, almost adults.
Right.
to
I mean,
be-
I've got a friend who like one of my good friends coaches the high school.
yeah,
And I know that they have a couple different teams. So, maybe they can get a group of 20 boys or whatever to come
Yeah.
out one day and, do some community service, because these guys want to get this on their resume also as their juniors or sophomores, juniors looking to, pad their resumes for college. So
sure. And they also get required credits for
that's correct.
being able to do this. So, that's another incentive to do it. And the fact is that, it could be a really interesting thing to be able to have, even if it turns out to be a rotation of different teams.
Yep.
Coming out to do this project on an annual basis. I mean,
Yep.
that's the thing. As we're going into this, we'll get a perspective on how to rally the volunteers,
Right.
and we can turn it into a system that allows us to be able to say, okay, if it's not lacrosse this year, it's baseball or whatever.
Right. And all we really need to do is just get on the same page with the coaches. And then the coaches will be like, all right, guys, here's the day, we're going here. So it's not even like having to rally volunteers. It's just, have these guys tell the kids, listen, this is what we're doing on this Saturday for 2 hours. You know what I mean? It's,
Yeah. Yeah, and my guess is that at least my estimate for it is, depending on the number of people we have, is that it might be like a 8:30 to noon thing.
right. Right.
And because anything more than 4 hours is getting to be too much, right?
Yeah. Right.
So sometime in that window, and when we do it the first time, we'll get a feel for how long it really takes to do it. And my guess is we would certainly accomplish, if not the entire thing, a great deal within that period of time. So, and that would go a long way. So great. All right. So when we talk,
Yeah, put that on. Exactly. Follow up on that as
that's-
well, because I can.
that's the two things we can catch up on, and let's see if we can do that. And I will follow up with Park and Recreation about coordinating, nailing down a date with DPW.
Yeah, I think it's more important that we start with a date, because we got to have a date at least, or a couple dates that they're available. They don't have games or whatever, practice,
Right.
exams, whatever it may be.
And one of the questions I have is, based on your experience, is it better to do it? Is basically, are we just talking about a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning?
I think so. It's just like with everybody's schedule during the week, parents have schedules for the kids, everything's sort of in place. Saturdays, Sundays are kind of a floating day. I think if they have a month or even several weeks advance, they could rally enough kids to at least get the cleanup done this year. And then we would have the framework moving forward.
Okay. And I'll have to obviously find out from DPW how that affects them in terms of their personnel, since they normally don't work on Saturdays or Sundays.
Right. Or maybe ask them like how many people they think is a good number, because that's also maybe in the team of 30, maybe they're like, oh, hey, we only need 15 kids. Who wants to volunteer? So,
right.
Okay. We'll talk more about that.
Yeah, that sounds great. All right. Well, do we have other things that anybody wants to bring up in terms of the meeting? Because the agenda that I have is complete. And Carol had something that she had talked about as an additional item. Carol? Other than our next date of meeting.
Okay, yes, I was wondering what we would feel as if we could occasionally meet each, whether even have a, like a June out on the town common as a group, rather than just doing, I'm missing the meeting of what we've been doing is great, but I miss seeing you.
The human element.
Yeah.
Yes, I really do. I really miss getting to know you better. And I just wonder if we could do that, once a year, twice a year, or what you feel about that.
I'd be up for that.
I think it's a nice idea, and if it rains, we could always
Yes. so
come inside.
Yeah.
For posting the meeting publicly, we have to say where we're meeting. So we can
We have to
either,
set
meet, out in the common for a little while and come inside, or just, well, maybe we just say town common, but there's no guarantee that I don't think I can reserve a picnic table out there. I'm not sure.
Or maybe we could just commit to the next Needham to the World transition and just go a little bit early, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
Those and those have been well, last one was on Sunday. And we've had, and those vary oftentimes according to when the person being featured is available, if
Right.
they're obviously, still walking the earth. So yes, the ones that are, posthumous are they're more flexible. So, so yeah, we can look at that. And I think it's great. I think it'd be great for us to be able to meet, at least, once or twice a year, as, in person, and be able to have the meeting, because, there's obviously huge flexibility advantages to being able to do it on Zoom. And we certainly don't want to lose that. But at the same time, we also want to, I think having some hybrid version, meaning that we, are together as a group in person once or twice during the year. Seems like it would be something that would be, very reasonable to schedule, especially since we can plot our meetings, pretty far in advance. And so people could schedule around, knowing that if they're going to have to leave work or do something, that they would have, they would allow more time to be able to get to the meeting.
yeah. That would be good.
That sound good to everyone?
Yep.
Great. All right. And Carol, so what is the date of our next meeting?
Our next meeting, let me get out. Yeah. Either the 18th or the 25th of May.
For me, just that that it would definitely be remote, either one of those, because I'm actually traveling. The 18th would work better for me if it works out for other people, because the 25th I'm actually getting on a plane to fly back, and I think I'd have to look at the timing of the return flight, but I think it would conflict with the time of the meeting.
18th works.
It's fine for me also.
Yeah.
All right, Amy, that's
Fine
Yep,
for me.
that works for me.
okay. So May 18th.
May 18th.
All righty then. Well, then I think we pretty much have concluded all that we have on the agenda. Are there any last minute comments or thoughts or additional things?
Just waiting for the spring weather to kick in.
Well, according to my nose and sinuses, it
That's
has.
true. That's true.
So,
That's true.
but yeah, and we also can, also look forward now to there'll be two new people on our committee. So as you know, the select board will go through their process to be able to vet to advertise and then vet, new candidates.
Mhm.
But, I think that also is, part of the growth and the and new perspectives that can really add even more dimension and value to the committee. So I think it's great.
Okay,
All right. Well, then I will propose that we close the meeting of the Revitalization Trust Fund on April 27th, 2023. And the time is, what do we got?
6 o'clock.
I think that's what we're at. 6 o'clock precisely. So
Yeah.
it's 6 p.m.
Yeah,
Do I have a second?
a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are officially adjourned. Thank you very much, Amy. And we appreciate your wonderful support and diligence to be able to basically anchor these meetings every time. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Amy.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.